This is INBC World News. You are watching INBC News, international news broadcasting content. U.S. President Joe Biden live from White House. INBC World News live. Breaking news. U.S. President Joe Biden is giving a statement on the ongoing tensions between Russia and Ukraine. Anchor Brindesh, INBC World News, Washington DC, White House, U.S.A.
Extend deeper than two areas he recognized, claiming large areas currently under the jurisdiction of the Ukrainian government. He's setting up a rationale to take more territory by force, in my view. And if you listened to his speech last night, and many of you did, I know, he's setting up a rationale to go much further. This is the beginning of a Russian invasion of Ukraine, as he indicated and asked permission to be able to do from his Duma. So let's begin I'm going to begin to impose sanctions in response far beyond the steps we and our allies and partners implemented in 2014. And if Russia goes further with this invasion, we stand prepared to go further as with the sanctions. Yesterday,
U.S. President Joe Biden live from White House, Washington DC.
He bizarrely asserted that these regions are no longer part
Anchor
of
Brindesh,
Put it simply,
INBC World News,
is carving out a big chunk of Ukraine.
U.S.A.
Last night, Putin authorized Russian forces to deploy into these regions. Today, he asserted that these regions are actually extend deeper than two areas he recognized, claiming large areas currently under the jurisdiction of the Ukrainian government. He's setting up a rationale to take more territory by force, in my view. And if you listened to his speech last night, and many of you did, I know, he's setting up a rationale to go much further. This is the beginning of a Russian invasion of Ukraine, as he indicated and asked permission to be able to do from his Duma. So let's begin I'm going to begin to impose sanctions in response far beyond the steps we and our allies and partners implemented in 2014. And if Russia goes further with this invasion, we stand prepared to go further as with the sanctions. Who in the Lord's name does Putin think gives him the right to declare new so-called countries on territory that belong to his neighbors? This is a flagrant violation of international law and demands a firm response from the international community. Over the last few months, we've coordinated closely with our NATO allies and partners in Europe and around the world to prepare that response. We've said all along, and I've told Putin face to his face more than a month ago, that we would act together. And the moment Russia moved against Ukraine, Russia has now undeniably moved against Ukraine by declaring these independent states. So today, I'm announcing the first tranche of sanctions to impose costs on Russia in response to their actions yesterday. These have been closely coordinated with our allies and partners and will continue to escalate sanctions if Russia escalates. We're implementing full blocking sanctions on two large Russian financial institutions, VEB and their military bank. We're implementing comprehensive sanctions on Russia's sovereign debt. That means we've cut off Russia's government from Western financing. It can no longer raise money from the West and cannot trade in its new debt on our markets or European markets either. Starting tomorrow and continuing in the days ahead, we'll also impose sanctions on Russia's elites and their family members. They share in the corrupt gains of their Kremlin policies and should share in the pain as well. Because of Russia's actions, we've worked with Germany to ensure Nord Stream 2 will not, as I promised, will not move forward. As Russia contemplates its next move, we have our next move prepared as well. Russia will pay an even steeper price if it continues its aggression, including additional sanctions. United States will continue to provide defensive assistance to Ukraine in the meantime, and will continue to reinforce and reassure our NATO allies. Today, in response to Russia's admission that it will not withdraw its forces from Belarus, I have authorized additional movements of U.S. forces and equipment already stationed in Europe to strengthen our Baltic allies, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. Let me be clear, these are totally defensive moves. We have no intention of fighting Russia. We want to send an unmistakable message that the United States, together with our allies, will defend every inch of NATO territory and abide by the commitments we made to NATO. We still believe that Russia is poised to go much further in launching a massive military attack against Ukraine. Hope I'm wrong about that. Hope we're wrong about that. But Russia is only escalating this threat against the rest of Ukrainian territory, including major cities and including the capital city of Kyiv. There are still well over 150,000 Russian troops surrounding Ukraine. As I said, Russian forces remain positioned in Belarus to attack Ukraine from the north, including warplanes and offensive missile systems. Russia's moved troops closer to Ukraine. Russia's naval vessels are maneuvering in the Black Sea to Ukraine's south, including amphibious assault ships, missile cruisers, and submarines. Russia's moved supplies of blood and medical equipment into position on their border. You don't need blood unless you plan on starting a war. Over the last few days, we've seen much of the playbook that Secretary Blinken laid out last week in the United Nations Security Council come to pass. A major increase in military provocation, false flag events along the line of contact in Odama, dramatically staged, conveniently on-camera meeting of Putin's Security Council to grandstand for the Russian public. And now, political provocation of recognizing sovereign Ukrainian territory as so-called independent republics in clear violation, again, of international law. President Putin has sought authorization from the Russian parliament to use military force outside of Russian territory. And this set the stage for further pretexts of further provocations by Russia to try to justify further military action. None of us should be fooled. None of us will be fooled. There is no justification. Further Russian assault in Ukraine remains a severe threat in the days ahead. And if Russia proceeds, it is Russia and Russia alone that bears the responsibility. As we respond, my administration is using every tool at our disposal to protect American businesses and consumers from rising prices at the pump. As I said last week, defending freedom will have costs for us as well here at home. We need to be honest about that. But as we do this, I'm going to take robust action to make sure the pain of our sanctions is targeted at the Russian economy, not ours. We're closely monitoring energy supplies for any disruption.
अमेरिका के राष्ट्रपति जॉय बाइडेन ने यूक्रेन के विवाद पर रशिया के लिए कहा कि रशिया के लिए आर्थिक प्रतिबंध लग सकता है। इस मामले में वे यूक्रेन से बातचीत कर रहे हैं। यूक्रेन के अधिकार को छीनने की कोशिश की गई है। ये बहुत ही गलत कदम है रूस का, जो नाटो के नियमों का उल्लंघन करता है। हम युद्ध नहीं चाहते। रूस को यह बात समझनी चाहिए। यूक्रेन से बढ़ते हुए तनाव को कम कर लेना चाहिए, नहीं तो हम उसके लिए अस्त्र शस्त्र और हर तरीके से यूक्रेन की मदद करेंगे। जॉ बाइडेन ने अपने स्टेटमेंट में ये कहा कि हम हर संभव यूक्रेन की मदद करेंगे। INBC वर्ल्ड न्यूज से बिंदेश चतुर्वेदी,
explicitly threatened war unless the supreme command permits.
Washington DC,
Russia is the aggressor. So we're
U.S.A.
clear-eyed about the challenges. Nonetheless, there's still time to avert the worst-case scenario that will bring untold suffering to millions of people if they move as suggested. The United States and our allies and partners remain open to diplomacy if it is serious. When all is said and done, we're going to judge Russia by its actions, not its words. And whatever Russia does next, we're ready to respond with unity, clarity, and conviction. Probably have more to say about this.
यूक्रेन संकट पर अमेरिका के राष्ट्रपति का ये बड़ा बयान है कि हम कल से रूस पर प्रतिबंध लगाने की घोषणा करेंगे। Brindesh Chaturvedi, you are watching breaking news. This is INBC World News. Editor Brindesh Chaturvedi, you are watching INBC World News. This is INBC and you are watching INBC World News.